Hello out there and welcome to episode 54 of the Nursing Home Abuse Podcast. I am Rob Schenk.
And I'm William Smith.
And we are nursing home abuse and neglect lawyers in the state of Georgia and your co-hosts for this podcast. Yeah? I feel like you wanted to say something. This would be a first.
I was just judging what you were doing because I know that I'm going to start the conversation off about this, but I was trying to read off of you. But go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that as this goes to air, it is February 12th, 2018. Now it's 48 hours from Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
But as we record this, we're a few weeks away still.
Right. So you still have time in reality.
Yeah. Actually, I need to make the mental note. I'm doing this right now. I'm making a mental note for myself in this recording that I need to make reservations for a restaurant.
Were you guys dating last Valentine's?
No. We met April 17th, 2016.
Then you were dating last Valentine's.
That's right. We were dating last Valentine's. We went to she was in New York.
Oh,
and we
that's
went
right.
to a really dope place in New York.
Okay.
But because I wasn't in New York and she was, I think she made the choice in the reservation. So this time it falls to me.
Have you been to, I don't know, now we're talking about food in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What do we got?
Bacchanalia, right?
We've been to Bacchanalia before.
Okay.
Bacchanalia, let me say this. For anybody that's listening, if you're in Atlanta, Bacchanalia is expensive. I remember one time I went there. I've been there 3 times in my life. It was like, I'm a non-drinker. So I'm not even paying alcohol. But it was that was my rent. It was a rent money. It's a rent money type of place. But as Will has mentioned in prior podcasts, I have the food taste. I have the palate of a 5-year-old or an 80-year-old. Mm-hmm. Okay? And I have the, I'm judgmental like an 80-year-old. I'm not paying a lot of money and I don't want to have to pay a lot of money and they bring a little plate out there and it's like a little tiny, this is a hen egg on a pickle. You know what I'm saying? And it's farm to table. I don't care about any of that. With Bacchanalia, this is the first time that I've ever paid a substantial amount of money for food and was actually satisfied. I was full of food when I left there. You know what I'm saying? It's the perfect combination of it's foo-foo, but it's expensive, but it's satisfying. It's completely satisfying.
Yeah, I think I'm actually going to take Manel there once we finish this trial as a thank you.
Oh, you're working a trial with another
attorney, yeah, who's really devoted some time and energy into this.
Yeah, but I would say that they're probably booked for Valentine's Day a year in advance.
Oh yeah. I would imagine so.
So we're probably going to end up at the local Taco Bell.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah. So what do we got on the horizon for this episode? What nursing home related topic are we talking about today, Will?
So we're going to be talking about sexual abuse, and we've been one of the things that we've been interweaving through these most recent podcasts are the issues that came up in the conference that I attended back in November, and there were 3 main issues. One was the use of psychotropic medicines. One was the Phase 2, because when I went to the conference, I think it was ended in November 8th, and
it was the first week of November.
Week later
Sorry about that. I dropped some papers.
A week later, they rolled out Phase 2 of the CMS regulations, and so then the other issue that we were discussing was sexual abuse. It is a prevalent problem in nursing homes across the nation, not just in Georgia, but across the nation. And sexual abuse is, unwanted sexual contact that takes place not only between residents, residents can abuse other residents, but it occurs with staff and it occurs with visitors. And it's a huge issue in nursing homes. And specifically in Georgia, this is an article from NPR from last August, and it says that the Office of Inspector General in the Department of Health and Human Services released an alert that reported more than 1/4 of severe cases of nursing home abuse are not reported to the police. The federal government investigators say they are conducting ongoing reviews into nursing home abuse and neglect, but have issued the alert now because they want immediate fixes. The alert states that the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare need to do more to track these cases and suggest they cross-reference Medicare claims from nursing home residents with their claims from the emergency room. So one of the issues that they're facing are when you report sexual abuse, when there is an outcry. One of the things and I'm not laughing at this because it's funny. It's frustrating because these people don't understand what they're doing. That you'll have a resident who makes a complaint of sexual assault, whether it is another resident, whether it is a staff member, or whether it was a visitor, somebody from their family. And what these, CNAs and nurses end up doing is changing this person's clothes, giving them a bath, or making them presentable, and then calling the police, and the police come and take her, to do a rape kit, and they're like, guys, you've changed her clothes, you've made her presentable and you've cleaned her up, but you have also destroyed all the evidence related to this. Because these people, these nursing home staff they don't understand how you retain evidence in a sexual assault case. What should happen is if there's an outcry, and that's what it's called when somebody makes a complaint of sexual assault. When there is an outcry, you leave them as they are, in situ, okay, as they sit, and you take them and you look for evidence. So the police need to do that, and they need to do it at a rape a lab or wherever they take them to the hospital to do a rape kit. And so they'll look at them. They'll take evidence from their clothes. They'll take evidence from their body. They'll take swabs from different parts of their body. All of that's important. Even their sheets are important. And what's been happening is that the nursing home, they're not really accustomed to dealing with these outcries of sexual abuse, and they'll wash these people's sheets. They'll clean them up because they think that's what they're supposed to do. Anytime somebody's going to leave and go somewhere, they need to clean them up. These are situations in which you do not clean the resident up. The police need to come and, if possible, even take an examination there at the nursing home. But it's an enormous issue, and like I said, it's not just resident on resident, but that happens. It's also guests that come in, and in some instances, staff, and it blows my mind that the staff members that do this. I mean, you have to be a particularly twisted individual to sexually assault an incapacitated, elderly man or a woman. And it's just the residents. Sometimes I understand because they don't know what's going on. But the staff members, that's just, can you imagine being?
That's a level of depravity. It's followed only by preying on children.
Yeah, it's horrible. Anyway, there's an enormous problem here. So here's what I'm talking about is that one of the investigators looking into the lack of reporting of these, they said that looking at records from 2015 to 16, this investigator found 134 cases of abuse of nursing home residents severe enough to require emergency treatment. The vast majority of these cases involved sexual assault. And in the vast majority of these cases, they're either not contacting the police right away, or even when they do, they're destroying evidence. So there's no way to investigate this and prove or disprove of it. It's absurd, because if you've ever done because I used to be a criminal defense attorney, and I've handled many sexual assault cases, and I was also a prosecutor, and I've dealt with these. And evidence and timing is crucial. So the moment that somebody makes an outcry, there's a half-life of all this evidence has a half-life, and it's slowly deteriorating. So it would be akin to, imagine that somebody came to you and said, "Hey, I've just been raped," and you said, "All right, go take a shower, wash all your clothes, and scrub your entire room down, right, before the police get here, because we want you to be presentable." That's how absurd it is.
It's an old, in my opinion, it's an old-fashioned way of thinking, and actually that was exhibited. I was reading a book about the assassination of John Kennedy, where Lyndon Johnson ordered the limo completely cleaned and fixed, any bullet holes filled and everything, before any investigation even started. That was the mentality, and that's the assassination. That's the murder of the president we're talking about. You know what I mean? Let alone the some person that happens to be in a South Georgia nursing facility being allegedly raped.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like what? Like the thinking hasn't changed very much.
And so that's So the destruction of evidence and the lag time between an outcry and actually contacting the police are problems. The other big problem is that some of these nursing home residents are confused, and they suffer from dementia. I mean, you have to understand that nursing home residents make all kinds of accusations depending on if they have dementia, if they have Alzheimer's, that those of us who work in nursing homes tend to ignore because they're outrageous. I can't tell you how many times I had, female residents say, "Hey, listen, you can't be in my house. My husband's at work right now, and the kids are upstairs." And I'm just like, "Ms. Johnson, your husband died in World War II. You're 98 years old, and your kids have grandchildren." But they don't know what's going on. They don't understand things. And the same thing will happen with even more serious claims. Like you could have a nursing home resident that says, he tried to have sex with me, and the staff may understandably think, okay, well, she's talking about something that happened in her past, or she's talking about something that she completely made up in her mind. And that's another problem, is that when these people have mental issues like dementia, they don't make for the best witnesses, because they can't articulate that something's happened to them. And so, when these investigators, and these are federal investigators, looking at these issues, have found 100-something of them. And I think at the conference we learned that in a given year there might be 1,000 complaints. That is scratching the surface of how many sexual assaults there are in nursing homes.
Yeah.
Okay, when you hear something like, oh, there's like 1,000-something, 1,300 sexual assaults reported, and that's just because all of the things that are necessary to come into play, the resident's cognitive ability, the staff's reaction time, the police follow-up, all of those perfectly came into play, and so those cases were reported. I'm going to go on a limb and say 9 times out of 10, that doesn't happen. So 90% of the time when there's a sexual assault, it isn't reported quickly. The resident doesn't have the cognitive abilities to articulate it, or the police follow-up is either slow or hindered by staff destroying evidence. So what does this mean? Well, this means that nursing homes need to do better for sure. CMS needs to roll out more implementations requiring staff at nursing homes to be more educated on the signs of sexual assault, and for nursing homes to do more to weed out those who have access to residents that may have sexual assault and sexual criminal.
That's right. And
charges in the background.
And to that point, we talked about this a couple episodes ago about CMS, the final rule, stage 2 of the final rule that rolled out last November, and how they strengthened the reporting requirement of facilities receiving Medicare, Medicaid funding that, depending on the type of crime that was witnessed, so for example, bodily injury, it has to be reported within 2 hours.
Within 2 hours. So that means that
not only the state agencies, but to the law enforcement.
Yeah. So that means that almost all sexual assault cases need to be reported in 2 hours. Absolutely.
Yeah. You know what is even more horrendous than talking about people that prey on the elderly, like employees of nursing homes, is a case. We're going to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
A case out of Santa Rosa, California, from the end of last year. Former residents, and this is some of the worst things I've ever heard of in my life. Former residents of Villa Capri Assisted Living Community in Santa Rosa, California, have filed a lawsuit against the community's developer and management. The complaint alleges elder abuse, false imprisonment, negligence, and intentional infliction of emotional distress after residents were abandoned during a wildfire that destroyed the building. The facility did not have an evacuation plan, and staff members left 24 residents, including at least 14 with dementia, behind. It looks like here, as the fire, this is according to an attorney representing one of the families, as the fire came closer to Villa Capri, staff told a family member there was no evacuation plan and that the people with dementia would be evacuated last. Staff members left approximately 24 residents, and a resident's son reportedly took his mother and 6 other residents, not related to him, on his own, in his own vehicle, and evacuated them. And he flagged someone else. He flagged a police officer down who was driving by to help evacuate the remainder. Another family member found her loved one in the hospital the day after with a broken hip, broken tooth, bruises, contusions, and an open wound on her heel. I mean, I don't know what type of person would be able to say, "There's a fire coming. You guys are on your own. I'm out of here."
Yeah. And this, this is following on the heels of was it Hurricane Irma?
Irma. Yeah,
it was Irma.
Irma and Harvey.
Irma and Harvey. Yeah. So they caused devastation in Florida, and there was an issue in Hollywood Hills, Florida, with a nursing home that did not have proper evacuation emergency preparedness plans. And this is also an issue that we covered in the conference. We even got to hear from Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who is a representative of the Hollywood Hills area. And they had tried to implement requirements for those nursing homes down there, saying that you guys have 60 days to have backup generators and an emergency plan for when hurricanes hit and knock out power. Because in that case, the hurricanes hit, knocked out power. It's South Florida. The nursing homes became like furnaces inside, up to 110 degrees, and killed a lot of those residents. Here it's California, and wildfires are just as common in California as floods in South Florida and New Orleans.
Yeah, tornadoes in Georgia and Tennessee.
In Georgia and
so
we have a lot of tornadoes. I would have said tornado in like the Midwest, not tornado in Georgia and Tennessee.
Well, that's true. I'm just saying, like, that's yeah, you're right. You're right.
Okay, good.
But you do remember you lived in Atlanta when a terrible tornado went literally through downtown Atlanta.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay.
But nevertheless,
the
point is that California, it's not like you're surprised that there's a wildfire there. There's a wildfire every other month, it seems like.
So normal standards of care would require a facility to have an evacuation plan in such an event. And in fact, again, we mentioned this again, that under the new final rule, under phase 2 of the final rule, facilities are now, the regulations are strengthened, requiring facilities to have evacuation plans,
backup generators,
these type of things, for these type of natural, what we would call force majeure events, acts of God.
Yeah.
So this is just a terrible. Like I hope all success. I mean, nothing can bring back lost loved ones. Nothing can bring back, people's use of legs if they or limbs if they've been rendered permanently disabled. But I wish these people success in bringing this this claim if these allegations.
Yeah,
are true.
And again, this is one of those issues where, I blame the people who own the nursing home, because there was no plan in place. I mean, what are those young CNAs and nurses supposed to do when a fire comes through and they don't know what to do? They don't have a plan in place. No one's there helping them. The owners of the nursing home certainly aren't there. They never are. What are they supposed to do? They have no idea.
Leaving behind 24 residents, 14 with dementia.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. Like, just being like, hey, come get your grandfather. We're out of here. That's insane to me.
Yeah.
What is not necessarily insane, but is completely normal, is that we've reached the conclusion of this episode of the Nursing Home Abuse Podcast.
Have we?
Yeah. This is a little short one today.
Okay.
This is like a little quick bite.
Okay, quick bite.
It's a quick bite. It's a little bagel bite.
Okay.
But always stay tuned. Next week we'll have a new episode for you. I believe next week we should have a guest. I don't know. I have to look at the itinerary. I think we have a guest. I don't know. But it'll be great. Whatever happens, it will be fantastic. It'll be amazing.
Best thing you've ever seen.
You can watch this podcast on our YouTube channel or at our website, nursinghomeabusepodcast.com. Or you can listen to this podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, or Spotify, or perhaps some new application that I've never heard of. And with that, we will see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks for tuning in to the Nursing Home Abuse Podcast. Please be sure to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or Stitcher, and feel free to leave us some feedback. And for more information about the topics discussed in this episode, check out the show website, nursinghomeabusepodcast.com. That's nursinghomeabusepodcast.com. See you next time.